You just love when you invest years of your life into a show and then they just spit in your face at the end. I don't know why I keep expecting Netflix to not do this. Like, they did the same thing with You. They're doing the same thing with Wednesday. They did it with The Witcher. Really, the fault is on me here. So Stranger Things is wrapped up. 5 seasons, almost 10 years of our lives. The Duffer Brothers promised us the most emotional ending we've ever seen. The entire cast was crying for hours when they read the script or something like that, you know? They've been saying this like every single season, by the way. But like, after Hopper magically comes back to life in season 4, like, I kind of realized that like nothing really means anything, you know? They're just saying stuff. But so, now Stranger Things is over and done and definitely won't be milked to death for another 10 years. You know, I said it before, I think season 1 is really good, actually. I mean, yeah, it's corny, it's very wink wink, remember the 80s kids? But it sets out to do a thing and it does that thing pretty well. And now here we are, it's 2026, the show has completely collapsed in on itself. And would you believe I have a few thoughts? So, come along with me for a second. So the very, very end of season 4 was insane, right? Incredible. It was mind-blowing. Like, they think they killed Vecna, and then the Upside Down, like, breaks through into the real world. The Earth's all split up. There's giant spider webs made of, like, blood and nightmares, you know? Like, this ending scene right here is crazy. You see this, and you're like, oh, nothing's gonna be the same ever again. What could they possibly do for season 5? And then turns out, they just cover it up with some sheet metal. And like, wow, look at that. We're back at school, everyone's going to work, and we're all just pretending like we didn't just see this. Hello? Hawkins should just be like Mad Max right now, you kidding me?
Yours truly was watching slack-jawed as the earth split open beneath her feet and coughed up that tsunami of mysterious dandruff. And now, I'm stuck here with you, my fellow quarantine compatriots.
Like, the entire concept of season 5, to me, is so hilariously stupid. The amount of kinetic energy that was built up by the end of season 4 is just gone. It's completely deflated now. No one cares at all about anything that just happened, you know? It's like, oh, I sure hope Jacob asked me to prom. Golly gee whiz, I'm so excited to increase shareholder value. Like, what? The whole ending scene of season 4 was like, where do we even go from here? And turns out they don't go anywhere, because nothing really changes. Season 5 should have been this insane, like, high-octane plot of Hawkins is swallowed into the Upside Down, Vecna is doing his attack instead of just like sitting around for 18 months to do whatever. Like, all sense of urgency and tension is completely gone so fast. So one of the big plot threads of season 4 is that Will realizes he's gay. And he has a big old crush on Mike. But he doesn't know how to parse his own feelings, and like, he knows Mike will definitely not reciprocate, and he also feels like he can't tell anyone else either because it's the 80s, and it's just not something people were really chill with at the time, despite what happens later in the show. I mean, coming out as gay in 2005 was risky, but like 1987, it's like a war zone, my dude. And like, in terms of how season 4 was going, where like all the kids were growing up, like Lucas and Max are starting to have some feelings, and Mike and Eleven are exploring each other. And so Will having to come to terms in some way about his own feelings, it felt natural, it was organic, it made sense. It added some interpersonal tension that we, the audience, are curious about. Like, is he gonna tell Mike? Is this gonna change their friendship? What about the D&D campaign? Now, going into season 5, Will is still gay, no doubt because of all those weird Japanese cartoons, like my parents were always worried about. And he's still struggling with it, but he finds some solace in talking to Robin because he sees her make out with her girlfriend, and he's like, whoa, you can do that?
And that's when it hit me. It was never about Don't F Tammy. It was always just about me. Just needed to stop being so goddamn scared. Scared of who I really was. I felt so free.
So Robin kind of tells Will about how she came to terms with herself before moving on to every queer girl's favorite game show. Does she want to make out, or is she just a really friendly straight girl? So Will takes this to heart and finally comes to terms with who he is inside. Maybe I do like musicals, okay? Maybe I did watch all of Glee unironically, so what? You know, between X-Men being a metaphor and now Will in Stranger Things, like, apparently being gay is way cooler than I was led to believe. You guys got like a pamphlet I can read or something? But then this all gets put on the back burner for like 3 episodes, this huge development that's tied directly back to a major plot point from season 4. And the only thing that comes from it is everyone's like, whoa, you got magic?
Mom.
Oh, baby. I don't understand. How did you...
He's a sorcerer. A real-life, honest-to-God sorcerer.
No, he's a warlock, okay? His powers come from Vecna. Did you guys even play Baldur's Gate 3? Anyway, so then 3 episodes later, for seemingly no reason, Will decides that now, right before Vecna's big attack, now is the time to tell everyone the truth he's been hiding all these years.
Truth is, I am different. I I just pretended like I wasn't because I didn't want to be. I don't like girls.
And that's why I'm gonna start a podcast called The Alpha Perspective. I'm gonna interview the dumbest girls I can find and ask them questions there's no way they can know the answer to. I'm a genius. And like, personally, I feel like this would have felt much better if it happened like pretty soon after Will's whole superpower thing, you know what I'm saying? Because like, that's the implication, right? Will accepts who he is, which frees up his mind so he can like, make really angry faces. But according to Will, this actually didn't really help anything because apparently Vecna is still emotionally blackmailing him about being gay.
Today, Vecna showed me what would happen if I did this, if I told you guys the truth. He showed me a future, and in this future, some of you are just worried for me.
Oh, really? This has been happening the whole time? Since when? Boy, this sure would have been nice for us, the audience, to experience. So when he decides to throw all caution to the wind and tell everyone the truth anyway, that sure would have added a whole lot of extra weight to the scene now, wouldn't it? Instead, he just tells us like, oh, by the way, all this stuff's been happening and therefore you should care or whatever. Oh, okay, cool. Whatever you say, Netflix. And so the result of this is that this scene feels like completely out of nowhere.
Earlier today when you asked me what happened in Vecna's mind, I didn't tell you everything.
Like, apropos of literally nothing. Like, obviously, this scene is pretty important overall, but just like the way it's in the show now, it feels like it has no weight because it's not tied to or bouncing off of anything directly. Will's just like, hey guys, real quick before the world ends, I like dudes. And everyone's like, oh, we've been new, honey. Also, I love how Callie's there and doesn't know any of these people, and she's just like standing there the whole time like, what's going on? Holly's fighting for her life trying to escape Vecna's fortress of darkness and scary stuff, and then Will's just like, guys, listen, I don't just watch Top Gun for the plot, okay? So this actually kind of leads into my next point. So like I just said, Will tells us that Vecna's been sending him these visions about how everyone's gonna hate him because he's gay, and so whatever he wears, we're all gonna have to pretend is fashionable. And like, this is part of a larger problem, maybe one of the biggest problems I have with this whole season, which is that it's very, very clearly a victim of the Netflix second screen mandate or whatever it's called. Like, I've talked about this before a few times with like Wednesday season 2, for example, but for a few years now, Netflix has been pushing this mandate where shows are to be written in a way that people can know what's happening while being on their phones the whole time, which, as you can imagine, and as we've all seen, leads to absolutely horrendous television.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's something called second screen viewing, right? So it's a directive that's being handed out by big studios to filmmakers. It is exactly what you probably think. You have to acknowledge that people are on their phones the whole time they're watching telly. So you have to simplify the plot so that they'll be able to follow along while they're browsing on their phone. So that's why you'll notice now in random, like in TV shows, even with good actors, they're saying really obvious things about what's happening. They're laying out the entire plot line and all of their emotions and motivations. Like, the language has become really bait and on the nose, and that's because they're being told, the writers, that they have to write in a way that someone can carry on with doom scrolling or shopping online while following it in the background. So nothing can be too complex, nothing can be too high end. It has to be like, we are purposefully dumbing down content.
And probably the most hilariously in-your-face example of this is Stranger Things Season 5. Like, oh my goodness, they explain everything 4,000 times. Like, every episode has 2 or 3 scenes just like this.
This is Will. And this is Holly. This, of course, is Max.
Okay, this flashlight is the Squawk radio tower, and this slinky is the bridge.
We're toast.
I got it.
You're gonna travel up Cornwallis for about 6 miles. And as the convoy reaches this Shell station here,
We radio hop to disembark.
And they do this because, like I said, they assume a lot of people are going to be watching while doom scrolling at the same time. So they make sure that the characters over-explain everything so freaking much. This is why I say, like, Netflix ruined my favorite show, because, like, obviously Netflix didn't make Stranger Things, but they very obviously had a hand in the way that this season in particular was written and directed. And the result is a season that is so hilariously stupid. Like, every character apparently just has, like, insane memory loss because they have to over-explain everything to each other all the time. Okay, so imagine this Kirby is you and this Ripley is a Dustin, and then this duck dressed like the guy from Yakuza is my interest in any of this. Now, these two Barbies are the upside down and the right side up, so they're gonna come together. So this Kirby is Vecna, and he's using Will to merge the worlds to make a new Earth that literally could not be worse than this one, so I don't know what everyone's worried about. Okay, so Joyce is gonna do nothing this season, because this represents how good the writing is. So this season commits one of the cardinal sins of any long-running show, which like right here at the very end of everything. Boy, they are trying so hard to get us to care about these brand new characters. For the last 4 seasons, the last 10 years almost, we've had a core cast of characters. Now, like I said back in my season 4 video, the cast did balloon out to be comically large, where we had like 12 different groups of people doing different things. It was so ridiculous. Season 5 does shrink the cast back down to a mostly manageable size, but they introduce basically a brand new character that we suddenly have to care so much about. Like, of course, Holly has been in the show, but she was like in the same category as like the dad, you know what I mean? But now suddenly Holly is like the main character of the whole season. And like personally, I think this is an incredibly dumb way to end the show. Because here we are, the final season. We've been following the same group of characters for so many years. We've seen them fight bullies together. We saw them stay friends even though Will looked like this. We saw them get upset about fighting bullies for some reason. We saw the Duffer Brothers totally slip in a backdoor pilot that crashed so hard. So really the big thing that I, and I assume many of you, wanted to see was our favorite characters growing up and coming to the conclusion of their story. And like we do get that for sure, but so much time this season is spent getting us to care about this new character that we have like no connection to. Like I'm way more invested in what's happening with Mrs. Wheeler, who doesn't get nearly enough screen time, okay? But like, has Holly even spoken until now? Since the beginning, 11 has been the focal point of the entire story. Everything about the experiments, the Upside Down, Hawkins' energy, all this has been about this one girl. And season 5, 11's screen time is cut down to just like barely anything. She's hardly even in the show. The crux of the entire story of Stranger Things has become a side character who doesn't really do much of anything until the very, very end, of course.
Well, this plan actually works. We're getting the hell out of here. Doc K and her plans, that's a problem for another day. Deal?
She doesn't even hold her hand out and yell that much. That's so weird. Like, what is she doing with all this new free time? And like, the whole shtick of the show is that it's based on or analogous to D&D, right? Like, this is literally how the show first begins. But now it's kind of sort of about A Wrinkle in Time, because that's Holly's favorite book, but also kind of still D&D, maybe?
There might be a way. A way to save Derek and find Holly. This is Derek. And this is the rest of the Turnbow family.
So like, did he just have these on him the whole time, or did they have to wait like 40 minutes for him to go home and get it and come back? So again, right at the very end, we're introducing this brand new stuff we haven't dealt with. Instead of focusing on concluding their story, half the season's about a character that was barely even in the show till now. There's a lot of other stuff I could talk about, but maybe some of it's more just kind of nitpicky stuff. Like when Max takes Holly all the way through this stuff, and then she's like, actually you can't come with me, so good luck or whatever. And like Max explained to us earlier in the season that she almost made it out once before, but then the portal closed at the last second, and then now the portal is finally open again. But she and Holly have to do like a freaking podcast for 15 minutes first.
When he took my hand in the hospital, I could feel it right here. But then I could also feel it in here. But I don't have a boyfriend. You don't need a boyfriend. You just need something that's special to you.
And this goes on for so long. They just like stand here talking. Vecna could come at any second. The scene just goes. Or like anytime there's any conflict or problem they need to solve, someone always just magically figures it out in 4 seconds through some like insane logic leaps that I guess are always correct.
Say we go with Dick. How do we find the washroom?
And how do we get the kids to it?
How do we even know which kids are being targeted by Vecna?
We use an inside man. Someone who could get into the barracks, measure the distance to the washroom.
Or like Hopper, who's had like pretty much zero character development at all. Like season 1 and season 2, it makes sense that he's worried about 11 and he's like on edge, you know, he's such a dad about everything, right? But like despite everything that's happened and everything they're going through, he still like doesn't trust 11 to do anything herself, but also he's proud of her, but also he thinks that she's exactly like his own daughter. I don't know, it's just like nothing's changed in the last 10 years. He still says and does everything the exact same way. But whatever, anyway, this all brings us to episode 8, the final episode of Stranger Things. So the final episode of the entire show is, of course, supposed to be the big showdown. Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, Joyce, Lucas, Mike, Dustin, Robin, and Will all climb their way up to the Abyss world where Vecna is doing whatever this is. Inside Vecna's mind, we find out that when he was a kid, he found this dude who like fell in an old mine or something, and that dude tried to kill Henry, who instead killed him and opened up a suitcase and found a magic rock that I guess is like a piece of the mind flayer or something? And so this is what gave Henry his powers, and this is what led to all the experimentation with Henry and Eleven and everything else. And like, so this is supposed to recontextualize everything we thought we do, but like, it's the end of the show? Like, what are we supposed to do with all this information now? Oh, is for the spin-off? Of course it is. Oh, I can't wait for the prequel when we find out the tragic backstory of the Mind Flayer. He turned evil because he got stood up at the Sadie Hawkins dance. Also, apparently, Henry went to school with Joyce and Hopper, but like this whole part is never explained or expanded upon in any way. Like it seems like it should have been a really big part of the story, but they just kind of walk right through it. Why is there a demon summoning ritual happening in the gymnasium? Who can say? Anyway, so this all leads to the big battle with Eleven and Will combining their powers along with everyone else helping from the sidelines to defeat Vecna. We also get a little more backstory about Henry in that he himself is being controlled by the Mind Flayer this whole time, a la Max's brother from whichever season that was.
It wasn't you. It was never you. Leave me alone. You were just a kid. And it used you. It used you to bring it here.
And like, as cool as this all is, it felt really anticlimactic to me. Like, I don't know, I guess just like given what the show is about, I was expecting a much more drawn out, dramatic final battle, maybe more akin to like Akira or something. I was just expecting way more for the final battle, but like the one they gave us just feels like it's over so fast. But then at the very, very end, everyone leaves the Upside Down and they set the C4 to blow up the exotic matter, which will destroy like everything except the real world. But they get caught by the military and Elle decides to stay behind in the Upside Down so that she disappears along with it. This, of course, being the only way they can stop the military from chasing after her and her friends forever. And so then apparently the military just shrugs and walks away. Like, are you kidding me? These kids killed like 50 soldiers at this point, and Dr. K's just like, well, them's the dice, I guess. Excuse me? What? Like, just the most insanely anticlimactic ending I've ever seen. Like, why is she even in the show, by the way? What a waste of a character. Anyway, so the last 45 minutes or so of the episode is just wrapping everything up. All the kids are now graduating high school. They finally look semi-age appropriate. Nancy and Steve and Robin and Jonathan are all back in town reminiscing about the good old days, you know, when they were running for their lives constantly.
I took a job at the Herald, which it sounds fancier like that. It's a trainee position, but I don't know. I was just sick of school and thought I'd maybe get out there and try the real world.
Yeah, it's great, Nancy, but more important, the heck is going on with these shoulders? This is the most 80s oval coat anyone has ever worn. And so the show ends with the four main boys and Max playing D&D. Mike tells everyone that he has a theory that Elle is actually still alive because maybe Callie did her illusion powers to make it look like Elle disappeared, but maybe she's actually just off living in like Greenland or whatever this is.
Just a theory, right?
How do we know it's true? We don't. Not for sure. But I choose to believe that it is.
So, is she alive? Did Callie survive long enough to do all this? Who knows? Will there definitely be spin-offs and prequels and any other way they can possibly milk the franchise? Absolutely. It's easy to look at just one season like this and talk about its flaws and plot holes and how it quite literally makes no sense at all. But as a whole, as one 10-year chunk of television, I can't sit here and deny that it wasn't at least a big part of our lives, you know? I feel the same way about Riverdale. Like, I never hated Riverdale. I just acknowledged that it was really freaking dumb. But it was still so many years of my life. And like, this is also true for Stranger Things. Even though I watched it get stupider every season and watched them recycle the same plot threads and watched characters having to learn the same lessons over and over again, it was still 10 years of my life on this godless planet. Each season correlating to some part of my own life journey or whatever that brought me here to where I am now. So like, I don't regret watching the show, but I am a little bummed out that they had to take it in the least interesting, least compelling direction they could. This season felt like when your relationship has been pretty much over for like a while now, but then like it's your birthday and they still give you a present, but it's like clearly just like the most bare minimum thing they could possibly find, you know, and you're just like, oh, thanks. That's how this ending felt to me. So, thanks, Netflix, I guess. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please watch another one, because that's how the algorithm works. So click on this one that's being recommended to you right now, right here on the screen. It actually helps a lot if you do that, because like that's how YouTube knows that my videos are worth caring about. And hey, if you want to say hi, send me an email at alexmeyersfanmail@gmail.com. Anyway, hope I made your day a little bit better, and I'll see you all next time.